Welcome to the Team SNG deck profile. Today we are going to be covering a duplicitous deck in Dream Mirror. While I get your attention, I'd like to ask you guys, leave us a like, leave us a comment, and leave us a subscribe. Recently, in Blazing Vortex, Dream Mirror got a new boss monster and another main deck monster that gives the deck some interesting interactions that we're going to talk about. Now, I do want to warn you that I run Pot of Extrav in my current build. However, during this video, before I go on to the extra deck, I will show you 3 cards that you could substitute in instead of Pot of Extrav if your budget doesn't permit for Pot of Extravagance. This deck utilizes 2 different field spells, Dream Mirror of Joy and Dream Mirror of Terror, and alternating monsters to control the board state and limit your opponent's ability to target your own cards. Now, we are also running 1 Chaos Boss monster in this deck that benefits from field spells being on the field as well. That being said, let's get into this. So, leading off our Dream Mirror monsters, we have 3 copies of Ikelos, the Dream Mirror Sprite. This is the light Ikelos, and with most of the Dream Mirror monsters, there is a dark counterpart as well in Ikelos, the Dream Mirror Mara. So, our light Ikelos, our Sprite, acts as a rota for the entire deck. When it is special summoned by a Dream Mirror monster's effect, you get to add a Dream Mirror card from your deck to your hand. The Dark Dream Mirror Ikelos lets you special summon a Dream Mirror monster from your hand when it is special summoned by a Dream Mirror monster's effect. Now, the way that this will work is with Sprite on the field, you can tribute Sprite off if you have Dream Mirror of Terror to special summon Mara to the field. If Mara's on the field and you have Dream Mirror of Joy on the field, you can special summon Ikelos, Dream Mirror Sprite, from your deck or your hand. So that's how all of the Dream Mirrors interchange. The dark ones can tribute themselves off the field to special summon the light ones if Dream Mirror of Joy is on the field, and if Dream Mirror of Terror is on the field, then the light ones can trade themselves out for the dark ones. Ideally, what you would like to see is Dream Mirror of Joy, normal summon your Mara, tribute Mara off, special your Ikelos, and then when your Ikelos Sprite is summoned, you'll get to add a card to your hand. So that sort of gives you an idea of how the interactions work with the different field spells. And we'll go more into more detail about them when we get to the spell cards. Next, we run 2 copies of our Light Doggo and 2 copies of our Dark Doggo. So, our Light Doggo, Phantasos, the Dream Mirror friend, when it is special summoned by the effect of a Dream Mirror monster, you get to special summon from your graveyard a level 8 or lower Dream Mirror monster in defense position, which is any of your main deck Dream Mirror monsters. When Dream Mirror foe, the Dark Doggo, is special summoned by a Dream Mirror monster's effect, you get to attack twice with that dog. They both work really well in tandem. However, the Light Doggo has more utility as it recurs stuff from the grave, whereas the Dark Doggo is somewhat limited. You really only want it on the field on your turn because it can attack twice. Next, onto the only Dream Mirror monster that doesn't have a light or dark alternative, and that is because it is already both, and that is 2 copies of Neroi, the Dream Mirror Disciple. Now, this doesn't have an attribute alternative, and that is because it counts as a dark when it's on the field. If you have a Dream Mirror monster on the field, you can special summon this from your hand, and then you can treat it as a dark if you'd like. Also, he gains effects based on what Dream Mirror field spells are active on the field. So if Dream Mirror of Joy is on the field, you can return a spell or trap your opponent controls to the hand. And if Dream Mirror of Terror is on the field, you can draw a card and then shuffle a card from your hand back into the deck. However, typically you're just putting this card on the field to act as the attribute you don't have for your fusion summons, which we'll talk about when we get there. Now onto the boss monsters of the main deck. We run 2 copies of Morpheus White Knight and 2 copies of Morpheus Black Knight. White Knight is effectively a deterrent. When it is special summoned by the effect of a Dream Mirror monster, it is indestructible by card effect and battle until the end phase of the turn it was special summoned. Black Knight, if it's special summoned by a Dream Mirror monster's effect, will let you target a card on your opponent's field and pop it. The idea is that you want to switch into Black Knight at the start of your opponent's turn when they look like they're going to pop off, to pop whatever it is they have on the field that could be useful, and then switch back to your White Knight so that your White Knight can act as a deterrent and protect your entire board. This, coupled with Dream Mirror of Joy's effect, which we'll talk about when we get there, can actually protect your entire field and not just your White Knight. So that does it for our Dream Mirror monsters. Finally, we do run one Chaos monster as alluded to earlier, and that is 2 copies of Chaos Daedalus. Chaos Daedalus protects all light and dark monsters on the field so long as there is a field zone active on the field. And, well, with this deck, you're hoping not to have 1, but 2 active. On top of that, he can banish cards equal to the number of field zones active on the field during your turn. So he can potentially take 2 threats off of the board if you've managed to get both Joy and Terror on the field. So he acts as a pseudo-boss monster the deck has access to, because you're already going to set your graveyard up with plenty of lights and darks to banish off to special summon him. For our monsters. Onto our spell traps. Obviously, this is a Dream Mirror deck, so we can't go very much longer without talking about, well, the Dream Mirrors. The first Dream Mirror that we're going to talk about is 3 copies of Dream Mirror of Joy. Dream Mirror of Joy protects all your lower level Dream Mirror monsters from card effects and battle. And the way that that works is that while it's on the field, your opponent can only target the highest level Dream Mirror monster on the field for card effects and battles. So long as you've got this and Morpheus the White Knight on the field, you're pretty well set. Your opponent is not going to be able to target anything but Morpheus, and Morpheus won't be destructible by card effect or battle. So that's what I mean by he acts as a deterrent and a protection for your entire field. This is also needed so that you can switch your dark monsters out for the light counterparts. On top of that, during the end phase, you can banish this card to activate a copy of one of our Dream Mirror of Terrors from our hand or our deck. Dream Mirror of Terror will inflict 300 points of damage to your opponent so long as you control a Dream Mirror monster and they special summon. So every time they special summon, they take this 300 burn, but you will have to have a Dream Mirror monster on the field. So typically, using one of our trap cards, you're going to want to give them Dream Mirror of Terror, and you're going to want Dream Mirror of Joy because you want that protection, and that burn effect, while it's nice, is not massively important. Next, we run 3 copies of this deck's inbuilt Rota in Dream Mirror Phantasms. When you activate this, you can search your deck and add to your hand a Dream Mirror monster. So it's a little limited compared to Ikelos, the Dream Mirror sprite, who lets you search out any card, but this could then let you search out your Ikelos, which will hopefully get you to that nice little search effect that Ikelos has. On top of that, if Dream Mirror of Joy is on the field, all your Dream Mirror monsters gain a 500 attack and defense buff. And if Dream Mirror of Terror is active on the field, then all of your opponent's monsters lose 500 attack and defense. And this can stack, so if you've got multiple Dream Mirror Phantasms on the field, your opponent is losing 500 for each copy. Meaning that if you've got all 3, they're taking a 1500 nerf, while you're getting a 1500 buff. To go along with this, we run 3 copies of the inbuilt fusion spell in Dream Mirror of Chaos. Dream Mirror of Chaos being a quick play is really nice because we can drop our big boss monsters from the extra deck on our opponent's turn. On top of that, it gains the advantage of being able to use materials from different places depending on which Dream Mirror field spells are active on the field. If Dream Mirror of Terror is on the field, you can banish your materials from your graveyard. If Dream Mirror of Joy is on the field, you can use materials from your hand. Typically, you want Dream Mirror of Terror on the field so that you can banish off materials that are already been spent in your graveyard. Finally, as I've stated a couple times, I am running 3 Pot of Extravs because of the fact that there's only 2 monsters in our extra deck that I care about, and I run 3 copies of both, meaning that I have 6 monsters in our extra deck I care about. The rest of them, I just don't care. And now I really only need 1 copy of each to remain in the extra deck to allow me to do what I need to do. Now onto our traps. We've talked about how the Dream Mirror field spells are really critical. And because of that, Dream Mirror Hypnagogia is probably the most important card in the deck now. Dream Mirror Hypnagogia will let you place into one field zone Dream Mirror of Terror and the other Dream Mirror of Joy. And that will then facilitate absolutely all of your Dream Mirror monsters' effects being able to go off. If you include Ikelos, we're running 6 copies of it. If you include Phantasms getting us to Ikelos, we're running 9 copies of it. And honestly, you need it. You really do need to see it, because being able to activate it and get both your field spells on the field at once is clutch in this deck. Now, we are also running 2 copies of Dream Mirror Fantasy. Dream Mirror Fantasy will let you shuffle back 2 banished field spells, 1 Dream Mirror of Joy and 1 Dream Mirror of Terror, to banish a card on your opponent's side of the field. And on top of that, you can use this card in your graveyard to protect a Dream Mirror card on your field from destruction. So, Dream Mirror Fantasy can be really useful to A, protect your board, but also to help you dismantle your opponents, and it recurs your banished field spells, meaning if you're banishing them off during the end phase of your turns to switch them out, you're not too concerned because you're going to get them back so long as you have Dream Mirror Fantasy. Finally, for the main deck, because Hypnagogia is so important, we are running 3 more ways to search it out in Trap Trick. If push comes to shove, you can always activate your Trap Trick, and you can then set your Hypnagogia, activate your Hypnagogia, get your 2 Dream Mirror field spells on the field, and then all of your monster effects become live, which is really, really nice. So that does it for our main deck. Now, I did state I was going to talk about what you could switch in if you didn't have the budget for Pot of Extravagance. What I would recommend switching in this case is a 3rd copy of Dream Mirror Fantasy and 2 copies of Dream Mirror Recap. Dream Mirror Recap is an interesting card. I don't think it's a necessity for the deck to function. However, it does have its utility. I could see me trading out my Pot of Extravs if I didn't have them for 2 copies of Dream Mirror Recap. What Recap will let you do is it lets you shuffle back your monsters if they tribute themselves for their effects into the deck, meaning that you don't end up just filling your graveyard with Dream Mirror monsters. But also, what it can do is you can activate one of your banished Dream Mirror field spells, whether it be Joy or Terror, and then you can special summon from your hand a Dream Mirror monster that specifically lists the card you activated with this card's effect. So, it can be useful in the sense that it can help you set up plays on your opponent's turn. However, I think that Hypnagogia still is the better card, and that's why I don't run Dream Mirror of Recap. I'd rather have the Pot of Extravs in my build, but if you haven't got the budget, Dream Mirror Recap can definitely give you some interactions on your opponent's turn that you might not have access to without it. On to our extra deck. As stated, the only cards in the extra deck I care about are my 2 Dream Mirror fusions. The first of these being Onieros, the Dream Mirror Tormentor. When Onieros is on the field, if Dream Mirror of Terror is on the field as well, you can quick effect negate a monster's effect. If Dream Mirror of Joy is on the field, you could quick effect tribute your Onieros to special summon from your extra deck his light counterpart in Onieros, the Earl King. What the Earl King lets you do is, if a monster on your side of the field is tributed, you can target and destroy a card on the field, meaning that you can basically pop something on your opponent's field off. Then, if this card is destroyed by an opponent's card, whether it be by battle or card effect, you can special summon from your graveyard a Dream Mirror monster that is there. So the idea is that you go with Tormentor first, you put Tormentor on the field, you get your negate out of it, then you switch it out for your Earl King, and then you use your Earl King's pop effect, and then if your opponent gets rid of your Earl King, you just bring back your Tormentor, and you just do the whole thing again. You can then tribute off your Tormentor to get you your Earl King, so on and so forth, and so on and so forth, and around you go. The only issue is, if you've used your Extrav and banished off all of one, you could potentially see a limitation. That is why Extrav is a bit risky in this deck, but honestly, I think the risk is worth it. What with Chaos Daedalus and our White and Black Knights in our main deck being alternative win conditions. The rest of this extra deck is complete and utter filler. You know, we got a Link Karibo, we got a IP Masquerena, we've got a Nightmare package with Cerberus, Phoenix, Unicorn, we've got an Apollosa, we've got a Boral Sword, we've got a Borlo, we got an Avermax. I don't care about any of this. You guys don't have to either. You've got your black and white knights. They're they're level 8s. You could put a rank 8 in here if you wanted. It is totally up to you what you run here. I'm running this. Link Karibo can be nice if you find yourself in an awkward situation with just an Ikelos sitting on the board, whether it be the Mara or the Sprite. You can always link it off for your Link Karibo. However, typically you don't really want to do that because you'd rather use their effect to get the other one out and so on and so forth. But, hey, you know, weird stuff happens. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's totally up to the luck of the draw. IP Masquerena into Avermax can always be nice. Again, not important. The Nightmare package, again, it's just options, but none of this really matters. This is all just here to give you a 15-card extra deck and nothing else. So, at the end of the day, the biggest limitation this deck's got is the fact that it is completely reliant on the 2 Dream Mirror field spells. You ideally would like both of them to be on the field, which is why Dream Mirror Hypnagogia becomes an integral part of the strategy, and not seeing a copy of it can be detrimental to this deck's ability to play. However, Hypnagogia getting not one but both of your field spells active on the field at once is really nice, and that lets you trade in and trade out any of your Dream Mirror monsters as needed. The one benefit to Hypnagogia is that it is a normal trap, meaning that we can always search it out with Trap Trick, and we also are running Ikelos, the Dream Mirror Sprite, to help us find it as well. So we should hopefully see Hypnagogia almost every game, and if we see it, then we are well set. Now we do have 2 inbuilt boss monsters in the main deck. In our 2 Dream Mirror Knights, White Knight and Black Knight Morpheus. They being able to pop cards off of our opponent's field and protect our board is really nice. The other main deck boss monster that gives our deck a lot of staying power is Chaos Daedalus, and this benefits from having 2 field spells on the field, as he lets you banish off a card for each field spell active. So he then becomes a nice option for us to go into if we've used Hypnagogia to get both of our mirror field spells active on the field. He then lets us banish off not 1 but 2 monsters on each of our turns. To top this all off, we are running our 2 Dream Mirror fusions in Earl King and Tormentor, and that is really nice because Tormentor being able to swap out for Earl King, and Earl King being able to revive Tormentor, who can then swap out for Earl King, who can then revive Tormentor, who can then swap out for Earl King, who can then revive Tormentor, is a really nice little round and round and round we go, round the roundabout. And that's really useful for us because of the fact that, you know, we get a negate and a pop every time we go around in that cycle. That all being said, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Make sure you leave us a like, leave us a comment, leave us a subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of our uploads, like the Dream Mirror test hands that'll be coming out later this week. I'll see you guys at the next video.